Good morning. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm just going to have a... Okay, great, thank you. Apologies, I was feeling a bit unwell this morning, so I just have a chair here in case I need to sit down. So my name is Hungerford. I'm from the IEA. I'm very happy to be here. It's really exciting to be at this event with so many people looking at system integration of renewable energy. So my presentation today is based on our recent report, looking at Power System Transformation 2019. So this is a report with an international focus. I'll outline the broad messages of the report, but I'll also include a few examples from recent studies that we've done that focus on India, and I'll also then give a short summary of the work that we're currently doing in India. So the IEA has classified the integration of variable renewable energy into 6 different phases. And these are differentiated by the impacts on the power system resulting from increasing shares of variable renewable energy capacity. Our current focus is on phases 1 to 4. So while all sources of renewable energy are important for emissions reduction, of course, then the VRE integration phases focus on wind and solar because of specific challenges that they present for integration. Now these phases are a conceptualization. They're intended to identify the main experiences and challenges related to VRE integration, but of course these are context specific. So the challenges each system experiences depend not only on the share of VRE, but also a number of other factors such as size of the system, existing load patterns, transmission infrastructure, existing operational practice, of course, and existing levels of flexibility. So international examples help to illustrate the different phases. Now, while larger systems generally have relatively lower VRE shares at the moment, there can be regional experiences within them that correspond with much higher phases. So for example, India we would currently classify in phase 2, but specific states in India we would see as being in phase 3. So looking here at specific states in India, you can see already multiple states, like some states are even in a lower phase, but many states are already well into phase 3. And as I think was mentioned yesterday, some regions are, for example, seeing curtailment, suggesting the need for increased flexibility already. So from a technical standpoint, power system flexibility can come from 4 sources: power plants, grids, distributed energy, like the demand side and distributed energy resources, and storage. And of course, while technology innovation remains important always, in all regions of the world, I think this is also the case in India, the implementation of policy and regulatory measures to create incentives for flexibility are an equally important and often the greatest challenge. So taking a quick look again at countries in the world, rapid cost increases and policy drivers are causing rapid deployment of wind and solar PV. Many systems, in fact, most systems in the world still are under 10% variable renewable energy. This includes Canada, the United States, China, and India. A number of countries are already showing the potential to integrate larger shares of variable renewable energy. For example, some countries in Europe. Denmark is already at 50%, although this is thanks in part to its strong interconnection to neighbouring countries. But looking forward to 2030, we really see much, much higher shares of renewable energy coming in across the world, and this calls for policy actions to ensure investment in all forms of flexibility at an unprecedented scale. So the good news about this is there is worldwide evidence that power system assets can provide the flexibility required. The bad news is that in many countries, policies and market instruments are not fully appropriate to doing this. So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of policy and regulatory reform to unlock the full flexibility required for the years to come. So just to give an example of mobilization of all sources of flexibility, this is an example from a case study that we did looking at India within my unit in the IEA, the integration of the system integration of renewables unit. And so this was in the 2018 World Energy Outlook. And here we looked at the Indian power system in 2040. So in this case, flexibility from dispatchable generation remains the largest source of flexibility in the system, but grids, demand response, and storage all played an important role. So there are a variety of options for policy, market, and regulatory instruments that can boost system flexibility and enable the various technology and system solutions we know today. The institutional framework, though, is a key determinant of the type of measures which can support flexibility in different regions. And so far, our team in the IEA has focused mostly on the technical solutions for power system flexibility, but we're now moving towards an increased focus on policy, market and regulatory aspects. And so this was the focus of our recent Power System Transformation 2019 report. And in India, we're engaging with agencies such as NITI Aayog, MNRE, CRC, MOP, CA, and POSOCO. So moving to examples from the report. First, power plants. Now, of course, conventional power plants are an important source of flexibility. VRE has historically been perceived as a key driver of new flexibility requirements and seen as essentially imposing this requirement on other power system actors. So it's very important that this perception changes because, of course, modern VRE is also capable of providing flexibility and, in fact, assisting its own integration. A key to this are grid codes to ensure that new VRE are built with these capabilities and to provide an efficient process in the case where retrofit of existing plants is needed. So one early example of this, I'll talk about this in a minute. One early example of this is in Germany, requiring simple remote monitoring of new small-scale VRE. This slide shows a recent study commissioned by Tampa Electric and carried out by E3 and First Solar, which is testing the effect on system costs of various dispatch modes of variable renewable energy. So essentially, if we compare a case where VRE is simply treated as must run, as opposed to either curtailable or the ability to use downward dispatch or full flexibility, where in cases where VRE might actually be dispatched at a lower level and then can provide some upward flexibility, then they showed that cost savings, particularly at higher shares. I also was very happy to see yesterday, so in India, the amendment to the CEA's technical standards for connectivity to the grid also stipulates frequency response by RE generators, low and high voltage ride-through applicability, and provision to very active and reactive power and other measures which help VRE to support the grid rather than purely being an imposition of flexibility requirements. Looking now at flexibility from grids, this is also based on a study done in our team looking at China. So today in China, interregional trade is constrained by many factors, which include limited joint governance over the operation of provincial power systems, and also the incentives for individual provinces to use their own domestic generation. So a recent study performed by the IEA looking at 2035 found that removing existing barriers to interregional coordination could save $36 billion a year in operational costs, which is approximately 9% of the total operating costs, and also a 15% reduction in CO2 emissions. And beyond this, shifting from the current dispatch regime to an optimized economic dispatch with flexible interregional trade could bring these yearly savings to US $54 billion. And in the IEA's sustainable development scenario, the benefits of this would be even higher. Another example from India that is seen as a world-leading example of best practice is a policy to remove connection risks in solar parks. So this has allowed investment costs to be reduced by ensuring common infrastructure for connecting to the transmission system, and this encourages renewables procurement and also helps to reduce project costs by removing connection risk. So now coming to energy storage, I'll speak quite briefly about batteries. I notice batteries are a very big topic in India at the moment, and of course, this is a flexibility provider currently attracting a lot of interest worldwide, particularly with price reductions anticipated to continue, largely driven by their use in the EV sector. However, market and regulatory arrangements are still needed to enable batteries to see their full value. So a first step relates to opening mechanisms for batteries to participate, for example, in frequency ancillary service markets. and where applicable, capacity remuneration mechanisms. And beyond enabling this participation, the ability to provide and receive benefit from multiple services is also a key step for batteries to allow so-called benefit stacking. And of course, this may require reviewing exclusivity clauses in participation terms, for example, clarifying priorities and setting reliability obligations. So I noticed the Horns were mentioned yesterday. This is not the Hornsdale Wind Farm, but the Hornsdale Power Reserve is an example from Australia, which is a battery project which participates, basically it receives multiple different benefit streams. So it participates in wholesale arbitrage, it also participates in frequency regulation and provides backup capacity in the case of interconnector unavailability. And this graph also shows how the entry of the Hornsdale Power Reserve into the frequency control ancillary services market in South Australia actually brought down the market prices quite considerably. Looking now at a different kind of energy storage, so of course many types of energy storage exist beyond batteries, and for particular applications others may be more cost effective. So the System Integration of Renewables Unit contributed this modelling study to the 2018 IEA Future of Cooling report, which focused on the potential role of district cooling in high population density regions of India, combined with thermal storage to manage electricity demand and assist renewables integration. So on the left, we can basically see a case where solar is being curtailed during periods of high production, and then with thermal energy storage associated with district cooling. In the right-hand case, curtailment is avoided and the peak demand from air conditioning loads is reduced in the evening. So I also understand from discussions at this conference that GIZ are actually starting to undertake work to investigate the implementation and potential of this type of district cooling in India. So this could have the ability to provide much needed cooling services and also support renewables integration, and in the right use cases, much more cost effectively than dedicated energy storage. So, and then this links nicely into the final example, which is more of a topic for future exploration. So sector coupling can be defined as the intelligent linkage between the power sector and other energy consuming sectors. For example, industry, mobility, and buildings, often through advanced sensing, communication, and control technologies that flexibly utilize demand to integrate VRE and lower power system operational costs. And a new clean energy ministerial horizontal accelerator focused on this will be considered in 2019. So our report from this year is part of a larger effort called the Power System Flexibility Campaign, which builds on the Advanced Power Plant Flexibility Campaign from last year. This just gives an overview of the co-leads and government and non-government organisations that are involved in the campaign. India has recently expressed an interest in joining the campaign, so we're very happy to be exploring this possibility at the moment. This just gives you a view on our recent reports in this theme, and this is the report from this year, Status of Power System Transformation 2019. I also have some USBs with me if anyone's interested with the report and also some of our previous reports in this presentation if anyone would like one. And then, so overall the message is, of course, countries are moving to much higher shares of VRE, and policymaker engagement across the power system is a priority for this. So the IOA is working very broadly in India. Our cooperation is currently as strong as it has ever been. So we work in a number of different areas, including currently an in-depth review of policy that we're undertaking with NITI Aayog and relevant Indian energy and environment ministries. We also work with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas on oil stocks and emergency situations in the oil market. Data, of course, is a really important part of the IEA's work. And so we're currently working with NITI Aayog and 16 different data agencies in India to work on harmonizing the Indian data system and make it compatible with the rest of the world. We've also been working with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. And then within the System Integration of Renewables Unit, we're looking forward to co-organizing state-level workshops with NITI Aayog and other collaborators, including state-level stakeholders, Terry and CER, which we're looking to undertake in 2019 and also next year. So that's one of the main reasons for our visit here this week, to meet relevant stakeholders. We're very happy to talk to you if you're interested. This is myself and the head of unit, Edwin Hayson, I think might be present. Thank you very much.